We did a lot of Pulse of the Program. Was kind of a series we had over the course of the spring and into the summer, and it was essentially just kind of taking a pulse, as is true to the title of this segment, of what was going on and what the feel was internally as best we could tell, and the fan base as well. So I think it's a appropriate time right now, after being in Columbus and feeling like we got a pretty good gauge for things, of the Pulse of the Program for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Before we do that, make sure you're subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. Ohio State fans, had a lot of y'all join the party within the last couple of weeks. Got to hear from a lot of y'all after we made our pick for Penn State, Ohio State. Got to hear a lot from y'all after we apologized for our pick for Ohio State, Penn State. Bottom line, we want y'all dialed in, want y'all subscribed, and would love to have y'all a part of this operation. So for Ohio State now, what do they have left? Because you just beat Penn State, which was arguably the second, not arguably, it was probably the second toughest hurdle for you this season. Probably going to be, and that's including Michigan as the toughest hurdle. So bottom line, you're undefeated after beating Notre Dame, after beating Penn State. You got the best resume in the country. So what do they have left? At Wisconsin, at Rutgers, Michigan State, Minnesota, at Michigan. By the way that things look and feel, they're on a crash course to once again play Michigan with the chance to go to the Big Ten title game, and more than likely have that be a game that will determine some college football playoff scenarios as well. The pulse for me, when it comes to Ohio State, after what we saw this past weekend, what we've seen from them with that win over Notre Dame, and just the overall feel for me right now with Ohio State, the pulse is no apologies. No apologies. I think they're kind of embracing that villain arc, if you will. Hey, Michigan's supposed to go for 3 in a row. This is the year for Jim Harbaugh to finally get over the hump and win a national title. Ohio State's kind of sitting back in the shadows. Pretty comfortable now being the underdog, the bad guy, the villain. Penn State, hey, this is the year for Penn State to ascend and be one of those top-tier Big Ten teams. They got a new quarterback. They got more talent across the board than they've ever had. That was me saying that. Ohio State said Dikembe Mutombo, no, 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 finger wag style, in Columbus. Took him to school. Marvin Harrison Jr. was developed in a lab. Pretty sure he is just not even a real human being. I think he was born on Krypton. Ohio State is embracing the fact that they are the villain, and they make no apologies for it. And the other thing I want to say, too, with Ohio State, we said it earlier in this live show, but I want to echo back to it right now. The visual in our mind of what we've come to expect from Ohio State Buckeye football is great quarterback play, Heisman Trophy level quarterback play, scoring 40 points a game, shootout kind of football, exciting to watch week in and week out, like they're high flying. And yeah, they were dinged up this past weekend, but like to this point in the year, that hasn't been Ohio State. They've been scrappy. They've been playing really tough defensively. The Ohio State offense has been applying pressure with running the football. Kyle McCord's been, I don't want to say a game manager, but he's been a field general of sorts, doing what's been asked of him, get the ball to playmakers, will win scoring 20 points. Like that was how they got down this past weekend against Penn State. And guess what? They don't apologize for it. They're more than happy playing that brand of football, playing a tough brand of football, and getting it done. Same thing with that Notre Dame game. 17 points was all it took to win. You know why? Because the defense has elevated their play to a whole new level. Like Emerald, kick it up a notch. And I think for me, the best way to sum this up when it comes to the Ohio State defense, because that is the differentiating factor, to be clear, with what they've brought to the table this year and what they weren't last year, they have gone as an Ohio State defense from being conversational in the Jim Knowles defense to now being fluent in the Jim Knowles defense. Now, we all understand those are two similar things. They're also two very different things. Like if you put me in Spanish class, I could probably get by if you gave me a few lessons, and if I was there for a semester, I could probably be conversational. But if you dropped me off in Spain and told me to go and order a meal and find my way to the nearest hotel, I would be in trouble. I would not be fluent because everyone around me is fluent, but I would not be fluent. I would kind of have a feeling of what I'm supposed to do. I would maybe know what to do, but I couldn't just do it without thinking. And that's where Ohio State is now defensively. We talk about it a lot with Jim Knowles, Cornell grad, shout out Jim Knowles, Mad Hatter, mad scientist, whatever label you want to put to it. His defense is very complex. It's counterintuitive. It's a tendency breaker. That's why it has been so effective with wreaking havoc with most of the places that he's been as a defensive coordinator. But last year, Ohio State, and Ryan Day has said as much, like they have a better feel for what to do this year than what they had to do last year. Like, if you know your assignment, that's great. But when you're able to know your assignment and execute your assignment without even having to think about it, and it's just instinctual football, then your talent gets to take over. Then the ability of what you have on that roster gets to take over. Because even last year, I don't think a lot of us questioned the personnel at Ohio State. None of us really thought like, yeah, man, they just got a bunch of 3-stars out there. Got a bunch of 3-stars running around, and they're just, making it happen with the scheme. No, they've always had dogs. And they went to the portal to even get some more dogs, in my opinion, based on what they have in the secondary. But, like, that's always been who Ohio State was. And so now, with the way that they are in a position to play instinctual, play fast, play free within this defense, that's allowed the offense to play a different style as well. Because, again, it's not Justin Fields. It's not C.J. Stroud. It's Kyle McCord. And guess what? Kyle McCord, to this point in the year, has been more than good enough. More than good enough. And a big part of that is because you have Marvin Harrison Jr. out wide for you. You can force feed him the football. He's been the guy. He's been the differentiator for you, and that's great. But, like, to me, and I said this earlier, like, I think Ohio State right now, just because they have the Ohio State uniform and helmets on, to me, they're playing an SEC style of football. Like, we're going to apply pressure to you defensively, squeeze the life out of you. Our offense will get points when we need to get points, and we're going to win a low-scoring football game and be happy doing it. Do it with a smile on our face. And I think that they are, again, making zero apologies for playing that style of football. Now, I also want to make sure we say this, because we got to be, and we're very fortunate to be able to do this, to go to Columbus, Ohio, to be on the sideline for different points during that football game, to walk around during warmups, to walk around on the field after the game even. It was electric in every sense of the word. To me, this feels like a more scrappy Ohio State football team. Like, they're not standing on anyone's shoulders. They're not standing on 2022 or 2021 Ohio State. Like, this is a brand new Ohio State kind of football team. And not just from an approach standpoint, but even from just like what they haven't achieved the last couple of years standpoint. Like, you can't look at 2022 and say, yeah, we're the Big Ten champs. They're not. I feel like this is, in a good way, in the most healthy sense of the word, a desperate Ohio State football team. And you could feel that sense of urgency from them when we were on the field watching them warm up. I'm watching Brian Hartline get ready with the receivers. And they kind of bring it in after they do a couple of drills, and they're getting ready to go to a team period before they go back in the locker room. And Brian Hartline, with this just intense look in his eye, looks at the entire receiver group and says, you bring the best version of yourself today. And some of us may just dismiss that and say, well, that's coach speak. JD, every coach gives their position group a pep talk before they get out there. I'm telling you, the feeling and the way that which he said this was a feeling of like, hey, we need everybody to bring it today. No disrespect to anybody else in the Big Ten, but we got Penn State today. Like, they knew that was a football game that they could very well have lost if they did not bring the best version of themselves. Kyle McCord, I'll go back to another example in pregame. We got to see them run out of the tunnel, and right before kickoff, I'm imagining this is something Kyle McCord does before every football game, so maybe this isn't super out of the ordinary, but it felt very intense to me. Walks to the edge of the end zone, and you see him just take this enormous, just deep breath out, kind of closes his eyes, kind of gets centered for a minute. And like, that was a guy who I think wholeheartedly knew this was going to be a battle. This was not a situation where Ohio State was going to just walk out there, play their brand of football, and get out with a dub. Like, it was going to take every single ounce of what Kyle McCord had that day. And it was good enough that day. But going back to what I said, desperate, scrappy, in the best sense of the word. The sense of urgency at Ohio State, I think, is something that hasn't really been there to this degree the last couple of years. I'm not saying it hasn't been there, period. I'm saying what they're doing right now, this is a team that really feels a lot of pressure in the best sense of the word. Like Ryan Day, I'll give you one more story. End of the game. Penn State, Ohio State gets the dub. Like, it's just a party in Columbus. And Ryan Day is like embracing his family, giving daps to the people around him, giving hugs. And it just, like, you could see from Ryan Day just the sense of relief, the sense of joy. And I heard him say clear as day, let's celebrate. Like, it wasn't a thing of like, good, we beat Penn State, we're supposed to beat Penn State, on to the next one. It was like, hey, this is a big deal. This is a big win for our football team. This was a battle for us. We found a way to get it done. And I understand it's not novel to be happy about winning a football game in a top 10 matchup, but I'm telling you, the sense that we get from this Ohio State football team is a lot of internal pressure on themselves, because they got enough external pressure coming from everywhere around them. But the internal pressure they have on themselves, I think, is going to help eliminate complacency going forward for Ohio State. And I think it's going to serve them well when it comes to that game against Michigan, when it comes to their chance to potentially be in the college football playoff. We'll predict those games when they get here. But again, I think this is a different, more scrappy, more desperate Ohio State team we've seen in the past. And I think they make no apologies about it. Last thing I'll say, I do think that the offense has to find another evolution, but the reality of what they're doing defensively is going to give them time to find that evolution. And as long as you have Emeka Egbuka and you have Marvin Harrison Jr., you're going to be in good shape. So for Ohio State, again, the pulse of the program is zero apologies, no apologies, none, and they're very comfortable embracing that villain role. And I think they're doing it really effectively. Got to tell y'all about game time. Now, I want to tell y'all about a time where I was personally down bad. We were down bad. I'm trying to get tickets to a conference title game in college football. And the tickets that I was planning to get went out like hotcakes. Like there was a certain allotment for us to get tickets and they were not there. And it was just like, man, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to go see this college football game and this time in my life. And there's no way for me to go see it now. How am I going to get it done? Man, I wish I had the Game Time app. I wish I had downloaded the Game Time app and I would have been good to go to be able to still see this game at the best price. That's the other thing. Like Game Time would have had me covered, and I would also have made sure that I was not getting taken advantage of with any price that was listed anywhere else. If you've used Game Time, you know it's the best way to acquire tickets for different entertainment events, different sporting events, especially college football games going on in your area. I love that I can wait till the last minute. Like I can wake up on a Saturday morning if I want to and say, you know what, I do want to go to Georgia, Florida. I do want to go to Ohio State, Penn State. Bam. Go look at the tickets, best prices, guaranteed. And if you find a ticket in the same row and section for a lower price, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. All right, also delivered right to my phone. I don't have to go do this thing where I pick them up at will call and I got to go find somebody at a tailgate and get the tickets transferred to me some other way, like right to my phone, buying tickets in 2 taps. So another good thing about Game Time, you can see the view of your ticket before you buy. We've all seen these things on social media where guys buying tickets and it's like right behind a pole. Yeah, it's great. You're on the 45-yard line, but you're right behind a pole and you missed the entirety of the game. Doesn't happen with Game Time. You can see the view from your seat before you buy. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code HARDCOUNT for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code HARDCOUNT for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.